Welcome back, Year 9. Let's get started. Today you should be looking at online learning week starting the 14th of the 9th. Today's learning intention: to understand how to write and use evaluation criteria. Success criteria is: I can demonstrate how to write evaluation criteria by completing the following activity. Okay, so let's have a little chat about evaluation criteria. Key vocabulary is the word evaluation criteria. It is a criteria or ways or questions we use to measure the success of a product. Okay, so it's really important that you kind of get your understanding around that concept. Okay, so we use evaluation criteria to measure whether a product was successful or not. Now, you and I in our everyday life will make quick judgments or evaluations of a product that we use based on its functionality. So we might use something and go, oh, that was crap, it didn't work, and then we might not buy that product again. Or we'll go, oh, this is a really good product, I'm always going to buy this product, and so you repeatedly buy that same product over and over. Okay, so we always do these evaluation criteria, but this is a more formal way of doing it. So whenever designers design products, they always set the evaluation criteria before they make the product. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to use the highlighted information from the design brief, which you would have done in week 2. Okay, you are going to create 3 criteria for evaluation questions you could use to reflect on the success of your dish. To ensure you don't repeat yourself, use the following as a guide. So what I mean by that is this little sentence after each question. So question 1, you should ask a question that is going to respond an answer in relation to sensory properties. So what you might do is you might ask a evaluation criteria that is going to direct your answer to be about the sensory properties. Now remember, the sensory properties are the things that you learnt about during your sensory analysis task. So we have appearance, aroma, taste, and texture. Okay, so we need to come up with a question that's going to stimulate our response in relation to sensory properties, which are appearance, aroma, taste, and texture. So according to the design brief said that the homemade pizza need to be appealing to a range of students in age from, I think it was 8 to 18 or something like that, 12 to 18. So you need to go back through the design brief, and have a look at what were some of the considerations and the constraints. And then you need to formulate a question that you can use to evaluate your product after you've made it in Term 4. So this first one, I'm going to suggest that you look along the lines of, so explain how your end product or your pizza, you could even name it, appealed to a range of students. Okay? And so in your response, you would, which is to be completed after the production, you would say, my pizza was appealing to a range of students because, and then you would take off and list all those reasons that you would say. Okay, so you would kind of like describe the appearance of it, the taste of it, the texture of it, what it looks like, etc., etc. So that is the idea there. Moving down to the next one. So question 2. Okay, so question 2, you're going to, again, look at the design brief, and my hint here is to say that you should ask a question about the design brief and how your food product meets the specifications. So we have talked extensively about the specifications. The specifications come into 2 categories. They come into constraints and considerations. Constraints are rules, considerations are options. So a question that you could ask, remember you are going to be answering this after you've made the product, would be explain how your product met the specifications of the design brief. And then in your response after you've made the product, you would say, my end product met the specifications of the design brief because, and you would then list them. It included 2 meats, 1 cheese, at least 3 vegetables, or it was appealing to a wide range of students, or it was able to be, etc., etc. You get the idea, okay? So you're going to pull out the information from your design brief and link it back to your evaluation question. And question 3, along the same lines, okay, so again, you're going to come up with another question, and maybe this time you focus more on production. So you might ask the question, explain how your pizza met the specifications of the design brief in relation to the making of your product. And so then in your response, you might have something along the lines of, my pizza met the specifications of the design brief in relation to making the product because I was able to make it in the school kitchen with limited equipment. I was able to make it within the time frame allowed as specified in the design brief, etc., etc. So you have scope there to then put that in place. Okay, so once you have done your evaluation questions, remember you do not need to answer them until after the production, which will happen in Term 4. Then you're going to move down to the next task. So work plan. Okay, so a work plan is a detailed plan of production from the time you enter the kitchen to when you leave it. This includes the preparation of all ingredients for your product. Okay, so there is a separate document in Google Docs, okay, that you will need to open. I could not leave a link here because it wouldn't make that production plan or work plan individual. So you will need to go back into Google Classroom to get the work plan template, okay? The settings on that have been made so that everybody has a copy, and you should be able to edit straight into that. So what you're going to do is you're going to write a work plan, okay, for your pizza. Now, you have to realize that the recipe below is going to be a generic pizza, okay, because I don't know what all your ingredients are picking, and everybody's picked different ones. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the recipe below and complete your production plan. Make sure you include all the steps to make the product with the ingredients from your chosen design option, okay? So you will be required to make the dough and prepare your chosen toppings. So this is the basic dough recipe, okay, with the method, okay? And then you have this step down here, which will say spread or scatter your topping ingredients over the surface of the dough, leaving the edges free of topping. Bake for 20 to 30 minutes or until the toppings are bubbling hot and the pizza crust is golden brown. So everything above this point here is about the dough, okay? And so you need to do that first in your prac, but also in your work plan, okay? So you need to have a look at this. So when you're filling out a work plan, you need to make sure that you have this recipe close by. And the reason you need to have the recipe close by is because you need to be able to place the information of the method into that work plan, okay, step by step. And then when you get to this part here, you're going to then add your own steps, because that part's up to you, because I can't write a recipe for each individual person who I don't know what ingredients they've picked, okay? So somebody might have tomato on theirs and they need to slice their tomato. Somebody might need onion and they need to dice their onion. So this is why the recipe will be generic and it's only just for the pizza dough. You can head over to the additional work plan template sheet on Google Docs, and there will be that template for you to fill out, and there will be also a video link to that on that document for a more in detailed explanation on how to complete that task. Let's move down to the next bit on here. So the next bit you're going to look at, okay, is reflection, written reflection or essay, and you are to reflect on the design process and the design brief. So that is actually your topic, design process and the design brief, okay? So that is the topic of the essay. These are some of the key vocabulary words that you would have done throughout this unit, and I suggest that you use these where appropriate, okay? Down a little bit further, we have some good sentence starters that might help you when you are doing your reflection or you're writing your essay. Okay, so below are some sentence starters to help you. Use these in your final writing reflection task essay. So the topic sentence here, in food class, we are learning about the design process. So that would be a really good way to introduce the whole essay. Okay, and then you could talk about my original design was, my final product looked like, the main differences were, my product was successful because, design briefs and design process reflection. Okay. Sorry, that's a bit confusing, isn't it? That is the next thing. Okay. So then what you're going to do is overall, what have you learnt about the design process and the design brief? And so in this table, like with sensory analysis, there will be a list of sentence starters. So down here we have our sentence starters, and then we have space for you to write or type in your the rest of the sentence for your particular reflection. Okay, so I suggest that you use these. Again, I will say again that sentence starters are not just for people who don't know how to write or find writing difficult. Okay, sentence starters are there for everybody. So this also can become a planning document for even those who are really good at essay writing. So you're going to slowly work your way through. Now, you are not going to be able to write your explanation or your reflection on paragraph 3 because you have no evidence of actually cooking the product yet. We haven't done that yet. But you could definitely write your paragraphs on paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. Okay, and then you can wait. You could probably do the introduction, topic sentence, etc., for these, but you wouldn't necessarily write the whole thing. I have just noticed that there is a typing error here where it says savoury muffin. That should say pizza. So I apologise for that. If yours says savoury muffin, you can delete that and just write pizza, please. How silly of me. I just noticed that then. Okay, so then you would continue down and you would do as much as this as you can, okay, leaving out potentially producing and evaluation because you have not yet completed that. Then you've got part of your conclusion, okay? So if you have a look at the extension question is looking at explain why design briefs and the design process is important in other food contexts. So I'm going to have a look at some of those videos. You'll need to look back over and kind of give some indication of why do you think design briefs and design process are important for other food contexts, like as in food manufacturers. Why do they need them? Okay, so that's where you're going to pull some of that knowledge from that you've learnt from those videos. And again, we have a copy of the Teal writing structure that you guys follow at this school, and then what you would do is you would then copy and paste all the work that you've done in those sentence starters table down here into a proper essay format. Okay, remember that the only heading that you need to have would be design process and design briefs. Okay, and no heading for introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, etc. Okay, so that is all there is for that. And I'll see you next week.